Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the closing plenary. It's great that so many of you have stayed with us for this session. I know it's been a long afternoon. We really value your time and your input to the discussions. The exchanges in the session that I attended on innovation clusters were really dynamic, really interesting presentations from the speakers and some great questions coming from the participants. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the summaries that we'll be discussing briefly in a moment. Just as a reminder, the sessions were all recorded. We hope so anyway, fingers crossed the technology has worked. We'll be making the presentations available online in the coming days and weeks. We'll have to see how quickly we can turn that around. We're now onto the home straight. We'll aim to wrap up on time at 4 o'clock. So we're nearing the end of this first Built for People Stakeholder Forum. We've obviously, you hopefully have had some really interesting conversations. I hope you also enjoyed the networking session earlier. But now we come to what I think is probably the most important part of the afternoon. The part where we say, well, okay, so what now? What are the next steps? And how can you get involved, be part of this community over the longer term? I'm really pleased to welcome to the stage my colleague from ECTP, Alain Tarly. Alain is the Secretary General and obviously a member of the Built for People management team. And Alain is going to give us a short presentation about some of the ways that you can get involved in Built for People. So Alain, over to you to take us through that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen, and a very good afternoon to everybody. I will try to be authentic as possible because I can imagine that for sure this afternoon has already been quite long. So I would like to quickly introduce you indeed to some key elements in terms of structuring and organizing, I would say, over Horizon Europe, the Built for People partnership. What is important indeed is that, well, there are several, I would say, components in the Built for People partnership. If you have a look at this slide exactly currently, so we have started indeed, next slide please. We today have ended deal with the first stakeholder forum live. And these Built for People Stakeholder Forum have the role of having quite a huge representation, but a balanced representation of experts and stakeholders throughout Europe to advise, to be informed about of what's happening in the Built for People partnership, but also to advise on priorities and suggest adjustments and reorientations where necessary. We can imagine that we are at least 150 or 200 people, more than nearly 400 people registered, and you are more than 200 having attended today, which is very, very good. And we plan to have meeting at least once a year, or maybe for some year when this is important, 2 times a year. And indeed, the idea is, besides Built for People representative, to have a focus on the involvement of all interested stakeholders, of course, throughout Europe. Then definitely, of course, the Built for People Partnership Board is the steering board, is in charge really of dialogue and steering with the European Commission, in particular to reach the objectives set out in the Memorandum of Understanding. And it's represented by nearly approximately 50 people coming, of course, from ECTP and the World Green Building Council on one side, and all representatives from the European Commission, from many DGs and units, with an interaction, with a lead interaction with DG Energy and DG RTD. And there is, of course, this Built for People management team, which is with representative from ECTP and World Green Building Council. What is also important is that we wanted indeed to have 2 other bodies, if I may say, or two other types of links. One is really with all the EU 27 countries and the associate countries as well to Horizon Europe through a state representative group, in order to inform them about, of course, of what is happening and how is the progress in Built for People, but also to ensure potential complementarity and alignment with national policies, priorities, and roadmaps. And last but not least, I would say, the aim is to cooperate as well and achieve synergies in overlapping domains. And we will do our best over the whole duration of Built4People to achieve synergies and having relationships with other industrial domains, for instance, processes for planet, made in Europe, or to have cooperation as well with co-funded partnership and the missions Hans van Steen was referring indeed in his introductory speech. So what is the interest, of course, for all of you to be part of this? Next slide, please. Well, this can be, I would say, in some way divided in two parts. Why participate? For sure, the first point is to understand why it's important to participate to Built4People. It's really about, of course, having a deep follow-up of EU research and innovation as far as, of course, the Built4People domain and areas of investigation are concerned, and being in a position to really take part in agenda setting and thematic priorities. And Stephen, in his introductory presentation of Built4People, mentioned that we already channel almost 400 million euros of EU innovation funding with the European Commission for Built4People, but we are also influential in probably at least as much for other goals in various clusters in the Horizon Europe program. So this is something which is very, very important. This is also a way, of course, for networking, for consortium building. I can get back a little bit to this point later on, to enter value chains and in some way, well, they're risking a little bit innovation or doing some kind of risk sharing with the appropriate partners to work with you on the future innovation. And it's a way, of course, for starting collaboration at European level. It's already probably the case for many of you already, but there is also, of course, this opportunity for newcomers. Then if we go to how to participate, maybe there are some points which are worth mentioning. First, that participating in the partnership call remains totally free. All the Built4People calls are fully open to all and anyone can participate. There is no need to be a CTP member, World Green Building Council member, or strongly linked to Built4People. Each and all of you can, of course, participate to the partnership calls. But you, of course, can participate, do a little bit more and follow info session and open consultancies. For instance, typically being connected through the Stakeholders Forum, and you got a first flavor of what we plan to do through the Stakeholders Forum. Become a partner, of course, in the PPP associations, where you can be, of course, more proactive in joining those associations. And this will, of course, offer some advantages, for instance, participating in experts and committees meeting, contributing to technology transfer and research exploitation, taking advantage, of course, of having closer link with key representatives from the European Commission and so on and so forth. And you can do as well, if you are already involved in, you can engage through what we are going to develop in the context of Built4People, which is a network of innovation cluster. Next slide, please. This was indeed the topic of one of our parallel sessions, and it's probably very hard to give you a clear view on exactly what we intend to do with Built4People Innovation Cluster, I would say in less than 1 minute now that I still have. But let's say that the idea is really to rethink a little bit how we can group together for a widespread change of practices in the construction and renovation of the built environment, keeping always, all the time in mind the objectives as defined in the European Green Deal, the renovation wave, and in particular as well in the new European Bauhaus. So the idea is that Built4People is going to recognize, for most of them already existing innovation clusters, which are local or regional, but which very, very importantly are characterized by the fact that they cover the whole value chain, they are cross-sectoral, they are cross-border, and they are people-centric. And those innovation clusters hopefully will support us to allow that innovation that is developed in all those various European and national projects will be really brought at the end of the day to the market and really penetrating, I would say, in each and every buildings and infrastructure in the future. So that's something which is very, very important. And we will get back to you very, very soon in order to provide you with more information about those innovation clusters, including the definition of a potential charter that we are just now going to put on the rails. So just as a reminder, in my final slide, next slide, please. So you should feel free, of course, to get in touch at any time with Stephen Richardson and Laura from WGBC or myself at the ECGP. You have all this information, and of course, you will get this information as we plan, of course, to provide you access to all the different presentations and the recording of all the sessions. Thank you very much again for your participation today, and I'm very happy now to give the floor back to Steve.
Thank you, Alain. And so I'm just for the final few moments, I'd like to invite my colleague, Laura, who you've just seen her email address. There it is. Invite Laura to the stage. Laura is just going to briefly share some very concrete next steps as follow-up to this event. So Laura, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Stephen. So bear with me some more minutes and I will go through the next step we have in mind after the event. So if we go to the next slide, you will see that by the end of this week, you will be receiving a form that we would really appreciate if you could fill in. So this form has 3 different purposes. First of all, we would like to hear your feedback of today's event. So we really hope that you are enjoying, but we really think that there's always a room for improvement. So we would like to hear your thoughts on how we could do it better for next event. Second, the form that we will give you also the opportunity to share some resources you might think that they are interesting for other attendees. So for example, like a report, an article, a publication, or case studies that you would like to share with the stakeholder forum community. And lastly, we are seeking for your formal agreement to be part of the community. So it will be, of course, compliant with GDPR, and this will allow us to send you some emails with some information for next events and following things that can happen. So all the sessions today, as Stephen said, they have been recorded. For instance, if you, for example, attended one of the thematic sessions, you will be able to see the other 5 sessions that you could not join. So, and also as well the plenary. So hopefully next week you will be receiving these recordings. And finally, we will be producing a 1-page summary for each of the thematic sessions as well, with the highlights and comment that happened during the session. And you should be receiving that in 1 or 2 weeks. So if we go to the next slide, you will see our call for action to you. We would really appreciate if you could fill the form that I mentioned before. And once you receive the recordings and the summary pages, we would really ask you if you could share this through your social media and help us to raise awareness and making the Built4People community grow. We will also ask you to commit and join for future events. And of course, we would be very happy to see you in the next stakeholder forum that will be in 2023. So please, if you have any questions regarding this, send us an email. Thank you so much, and give you the floor back, Stephen.
Thank you, Laura. So that's it. We've made it to the end of a packed agenda with 2 minutes to spare. I think we can congratulate ourselves on that. Thank you all for your attention. We really appreciate your time this afternoon and hope that you've enjoyed the event as much as we have. And we hope that we can count on your continued support and collaboration as part of this stakeholder forum. So thank you. Have a good rest of your afternoon, and we'll see you again soon. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye. See you soon.